Welcome to Tracy's Terrors. If you love horror and appreciate smart animal commentary, then you are in the right place. Today, Strigoi, VamPullet, and I are going to be discussing Naben Ruthnum's Helpmeet. It is a novella that you probably missed when it came out in 2022. It is a body horror masterpiece that is at once disgusting and smart and mysterious and everything you're looking for. And that's what we'll be discussing today. Helpmeet is a literary experiment in body horror that explores the relationship between language and pain. So if you're interested in how writers negotiate the narrative problems that are posed by characters in pain, by suffering characters, then I highly recommend this book. But I urge you to read it even if you have zero interest in the craft of writing, because it is also a compelling meditation on what it means to connect with another human being. At 65 pages, this novella accomplishes more than many horror doorstops that are out there. So let's get into Helpmeet with a quick summary. It's November of 1900 in New York, and Louise, our main character, is relocating her husband, Dr. Edward Wilkes, from their home in Manhattan to his family's empty farmhouse just outside of Buffalo. In this isolated place, far from the prying eyes of colleagues, Louise will care for her husband as he endures the final days of a mysterious and devastating disease. For the past year, she has watched the illness reshape his body, causing its various parts to weep, wither, peel, and just fall off. But as Edward lives well beyond the point that most of us consider survivable, the question becomes, is he dying? Has she brought him there to die? Or is he giving birth to something new? So Louise's husband is a doctor, and that is significant here. Writers of body horror and writers of medical studies, doctors, have something in common, and that is the challenge of describing physical pain. Think about it. When you're experiencing really uncomfortable sensations, it can completely resist your ability to linguistically represent it. It can exceed your conceptual limits and your vocabulary and make it hard for you to speak. It can even, if you're in enough pain, render you completely mute. And that is a problem for the writer, who must work with words on a page and narrative. So through Edward, our author experiments with ways around the problem of pain's ineffability. As a doctor, Edward is really determined to capture his experience, his changing body, to capture it in writing and take notes until he can no longer hold a pen. He finds creative ways to convey how he feels. He personifies his disease, making it an active subject that sips or picks or pulls or tugs. It's gruesome, and when he can no longer effectively narrate his own experience, we have Louise, who provides a very detailed external perspective. So Helpmeet really probes the boundary between language and pain. So if you're interested in the craft of writing, it's great. But as I said, it's also got a compelling human element. Helpmeet investigates the limits, the outer limits of human relationships. For Louise to perform the disgusting acts that are necessary to maintain Edward's changing body, she must really love him. And the mystery of the novel for me isn't so much Edward's transformation, what is he becoming, what's happened to him, as it is his wife's unwavering loyalty. Why is she so strongly bound to her husband? Clearly she didn't marry him out of affection or sexual desire. Their courtship was only a few weeks, and she laughed off his first weak attempts at intimacy. So what is her motive? As a former nanny and hospital worker, she is far below him in terms of the socioeconomic scale. So that is one motive. And she does acknowledge the financial benefits of her marriage. It's lifted her from one class to another. But she doesn't seem entirely driven by money. And, so you wonder, is she emotionally close to Edward in some way? Is there a mutuality in their thoughts and like a reciprocity in their actions and behaviors? But there really is not. At one point in the novel, she witnesses a physically impossible encounter between Edward and another woman, and she doesn't even ask him what it feels like to defy the laws of physics, which is something he does in this act. Privacy for Louise is an integral part of their marriage, and she gives Edward so much privacy that she may as well be, completely alone. She redefines what it means to be physically and effectively adjacent to another human being in a way that I thought was really interesting. For me, Helpmeet is almost perfect, but of course there are a few little problems. Louise's ideas about intimacy were far more interesting to me than what eventually happens to Edward. The book maintains a serious tone that is, I think, interrupted by the ridiculous culmination of his disease processes. Less description, I think, would have been better. While body horror often intersects with comedy, I was so immersed in the general solemnity of Louise's meditations, and I hoped that the book would not go there, would not go into the realm of comedy, but it did. Still, despite my disappointment with the outcome of Edward's disease, I loved the story's style, I loved the ambiguity. So do not miss this strange but wonderful little book. If you would like to hear more from the three of us, please subscribe to the channel and visit our website, tracysterrors.com. Thanks so much for joining us today, and we will see you next time.